They do not follow you because you lead. They follow you because they believe you lead. Leadership, my friend, is not truth. It is theater, and the stage belongs to whoever commands perception, not reality. In this lesson, we dissect how to manipulate the illusion of power and make others worship the shadow as if it were the sun. In every empire, from palaces to boardrooms, leadership is a crafted lie dressed in authority. Men do not crave truth, they crave certainty. They obey the confident, not the correct. They submit to symbols, not substance. The wise ruler does not waste his time proving he is right. He appears unshakable until his enemies begin to doubt themselves. Perception, once mastered, bends reality itself. The weak fight for control. The cunning create the illusion of control and let others live in it. So ask yourself, is your leadership born of strength? Or have you become a slave to the very image you project? Power rarely wears its true face. It hides beneath robes, uniforms, titles, or a carefully polished smile. You believe people follow leaders because they are wise, capable, or good. But the truth is simpler. They follow because they must believe someone knows the way, even when no one does. Every throne in history has been guarded not by soldiers, but by perception. Consider the Medici. Their control over Florence did not rest in force, but in theater. They ruled by image, by ritual, by grandeur, by the silent message that resistance was futile. Their enemies did not bow because they were beaten. They bowed because they were convinced. You see, belief is cheaper than blood, and far more effective. The leader who masters illusion saves himself the cost of war. He fights not for territory but for the mind. And when the mind surrenders, the body follows willingly. Ask yourself, what sustains your authority? Is it your skill or their belief that you possess it? People crave certainty more than competence. They want symbols, something to worship when the world feels unstable. This is why kings wore crowns, why CEOs stage vision speeches, why influencers speak with divine confidence over shallow truths. Perception creates order, and humans, desperate for order, will accept any illusion that promises it. History rewards the manipulator of appearances. Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon not because he was certain of victory, but because he appeared certain. His soldiers followed him into civil war because his resolve blinded them to the danger. They saw in him something divine. Not because he was, but because he acted as though he was. Certainty is contagious. Doubt is fatal. This is why great leaders never show hesitation in public. They may break in private, but never before the crowd. A ruler who reveals uncertainty invites rebellion. So you must wear your mask as a weapon. Confidence, control, and calm are not traits, they are armor. The world tests for weakness, not truth. And yet, the naive leader seeks authenticity. He wants to be real. He exposes his emotions, hoping to be loved for his honesty. But he forgets, love is fleeting, while fear endures. Respect is born not from transparency, but from mystery. When you remove the mask, you do not show your humanity. You show your vulnerability. In the eyes of the masses, perception is reality. If they see you as powerful, you are. If they see you as weak, you've already fallen. Modern psychology confirms what rulers have always known. The human mind fills gaps with stories. When people see confidence, they assume competence. When they see control, they assume capability. This is called the halo effect, the illusion that one strong trait defines the entire person. Smart manipulators exploit this endlessly. A calm voice during crisis, a controlled smile in confrontation, an unshaken posture when others tremble. Each small gesture builds a perception of dominance. Even when your world is collapsing behind the curtain, you must understand, the mask is not deception, it is survival. Power demands performance, and every audience demands a role to believe in. Think of the courtroom, the boardroom, the battlefield, all stages upon which image decides the outcome before logic enters the room. The one who looks most certain controls the tempo of the moment. They do not argue. They define what is true by acting as though it already is. This is why the most dangerous leaders often appear serene. Their calmness provokes anxiety in others. It creates imbalance. And imbalance is power. The wise leader shapes what people see, not what they think, because thought can betray, but vision dominates instantly. Ask yourself in your world, who commands perception? Who decides what truth looks like? And more importantly, are you leading that illusion or serving inside someone else's? If you wish to rule perception, begin by mastering silence. Silence draws projection. People will fill your absence with assumptions, and those assumptions, properly guided, become obedience. The less you reveal, the more they imagine, and imagination, once infected with authority, will obey even the shadow of a crown. So wear your mask with precision. Let it become the mirror through which others see what they wish, and what you need them to see. For in the theater of power, truth is not required. Only conviction, only control, only the ability to convince the world that your mask is your face. Because in the end, the mask over the throne does not hide the truth, it creates it. And those who cannot distinguish between the two will soon learn what it means to kneel before an illusion. Truth is rarely useful in its raw form. It must be shaped, refined, and portioned. Those who speak the whole truth become victims of it. Those who shape truth become its masters. You see, deception isn't always about lies. It's about control. Control of what others notice, what they question, and what they never even think to ask. A skilled manipulator does not invent falsehoods. He simply guides the gaze. He decides which fragment of truth the crowd will worship, and which they will never see. This is the art of controlled deception. Consider how power has always depended on narrative, not fact. When the church ruled medieval Europe, its dominance rested not on armies, but on a story. That obedience was salvation. That rebellion was sin. And no one questioned the logic, because the story gave meaning to their fear. It directed what they saw. Every ruler since has understood this principle. People do not see with their eyes. They see with their minds, and the mind can be led more easily than the body. Think of it as a stage play. You are the director. Your rivals and followers are the audience. They look only where you shine the spotlight. While their attention is fixed, you rearrange the scenery behind them. This is not deceit, it is strategy. You are not lying, you are editing reality for efficiency. Look at modern politics. Scandals, failures, and broken promises, all buried beneath spectacle. When a leader cannot erase a mistake, he overwhelms it with noise. He floods the world with distraction until truth itself becomes unrecognizable. And the people, exhausted by confusion, settle for the clearest voice, not the most honest one. This is psychological warfare, disguised as leadership. The average man believes seeing is believing. He does not realize that what he sees has already been chosen for him. Images, headlines, emotions, each carefully calibrated to sculpt perception. You must learn this discipline. Do not fight reality. Frame it. Even a harsh truth can serve you if wrapped in the right narrative. A mistake can appear deliberate. A loss can look like strategy. Defeat can be painted as transformation if you control how the story is told. It is not enough to hide weakness, you must use it. A general retreating from battle might appear cowardly, until he calls it a tactical repositioning. A leader caught in controversy may look guilty, until he claims persecution and gains sympathy. What matters is not what happens, but how it is interpreted. The strong survive events. The powerful survive interpretations. This is why the wise do not defend their image through argument. They defend it through design. They feed their audience what to think, not what to doubt. Consider Sun Tzu's wisdom. All warfare is based on deception. He did not mean lies alone. He meant positioning. The art of making others see what benefits you most. When you appear weak, your enemies become careless. When you appear strong, they over-prepare. When you control both appearances, you dictate the rhythm of the conflict before it even begins. The same principle rules the modern battlefield. Business, politics, influence. He who controls perception controls emotion. And he who controls emotion controls decision. Let others drown in their obsession with being authentic. Authenticity without strategy is just vulnerability in costume. The truth is a blade, and you decide who it cuts. You must learn when to reveal, when to withhold, and when to distort. Revelation without timing is suicide. Transparency without intention is chaos. Every word you speak must serve a purpose. Every silence must suggest one. Think of how magicians work. They do not hide everything, they reveal enough to distract. The trick lies not in concealment, but in redirection. People see only what you make them believe they are seeing. So too with leadership. You do not dominate through force alone. You dominate by shaping the lens through which others view the world, and you. Ask yourself, what do people believe about you right now? What version of you do they follow? The real one, or the one you've designed? If you do not define your image, others will define it for you, and their version will not serve your power. Controlled deception is not evil. It is the discipline of control itself. It is how you turn chaos into order. How you lead the blind without showing them the strings. But beware. The longer you guide the illusion, the closer it clings to you. A ruler who forgets where the deception ends and the truth begins becomes its prisoner. And that is how the manipulator becomes the manipulated. In a world drowning in doubt, confidence is divine, not because it reveals truth, but because it replaces it. People do not crave reality, they crave reassurance. They will follow the voice that sounds sure, even if it leads them into ruin. This is the secret behind every empire, every movement, every deception that shaped history. The power of confidence is not moral. It is magnetic. You've seen it yourself. In meetings, in relationships, in politics, the loudest voice becomes the wisest by default. The decisive tone silences inquiry. The calm posture crushes panic. Confidence manufactures truth when truth is absent. But here is what most never understand: confidence is not emotion. It is strategy. The great leaders of history did not feel confident. They decided to appear so. Julius Caesar, moments before crossing the Rubicon, faced uncertainty so vast it could have paralyzed any man. Yet he moved forward, not because he knew he would win, but because he knew hesitation kills loyalty. His soldiers saw his certainty and mistook it for destiny. In truth, it was performance, an illusion of control powerful enough to bend reality to his will. Confidence is the theater of conviction. When you play the role perfectly, even you begin to believe the script. And that is where its true power lies. Ask yourself, how many times have you trusted someone, not because they were right, but because they seemed unshakable? How many leaders have built entire legacies on tone alone? How many visionaries were merely actors who never broke character? The mind is weak before the illusion of certainty. We equate confidence with competence. It's a shortcut, a psychological bias buried deep in our instincts. Evolution trained us to seek assurance. In chaos, the tribe needed someone who appeared sure, whether he was or not. Survival required direction more than truth. And so, confidence became our substitute for wisdom. This bias still rules every crowd today. A trembling expert is ignored. A bold fool becomes a leader. So, how do you use this knowledge without becoming the fool yourself? You must separate feeling from presentation. Confidence is not believing you cannot fail. It is acting as though failure cannot define you. The appearance of control does not require certainty, only discipline. Think of Winston Churchill. During Britain's darkest hours, he had no guarantee of victory. But he spoke as if defeat was unthinkable. His confidence became a weapon, a psychological fortress that held a nation together while the world collapsed. It was not arrogance. It was necessity. When chaos surrounds you, your calmness becomes prophecy. Your steadiness infects others. And soon, they project their hope onto you. That projection is power, because they no longer follow facts. They follow faith. This is the essence of the confidence mirage, the ability to project stability when everything is uncertain. But be warned, confidence without substance becomes delusion. If you begin to believe your own performance too deeply, you lose control of it. The illusion turns inward, and the master becomes the believer. So, how do you maintain control of the mirage? By anchoring it to silence. True confidence does not shout. It does not overprove. It allows others to assume strength where there may be none. A leader who feels the need to constantly declare his power reveals insecurity. A true strategist knows that quiet conviction terrifies louder men. In negotiation, in leadership, in life, stillness dominates noise. A calm tone under pressure suggests knowledge too deep to be questioned. The more composed you remain, the more others imagine your certainty. You let them build their own illusion, and then rule through it. Remember this: the world obeys conviction, not correctness. History does not reward those who were right. It rewards those who appeared sure when others trembled. The perception of control creates control. The illusion of victory births victory. Confidence, then, is not about knowing the path. It's about convincing others that you can't lose it, even when you're lost. So, the next time you face uncertainty, do not seek comfort. Seek posture. Stand as if you have already conquered what you fear. The world will adjust its behavior to match your certainty, because perception is contagious, and confidence spreads faster than truth. Those who command it bend reality to their tone. Those who lack it drown in hesitation. And when two men meet, one uncertain, one unwavering, the confident man always wins, even when he's wrong. Such is the paradox of power. Confidence turns illusion into empire. The most dangerous power is not the one that commands openly. It is the power no one sees. Every visible ruler is a shield for someone hidden, someone who pulls the strings and never takes the blame. That is where true control lies, in the shadows, not the spotlight. You've been taught that leadership means visibility. That to lead, you must stand before others, take charge, be known. But the wise know better. Influence is most effective when it appears accidental. To be unseen is to be untouchable. Think of the Renaissance courts, filled with dukes, popes, and princes all pretending to rule, while merchants, financiers, and advisors quietly dictated their choices. The Medici did not wear crowns, they lent them. Their gold bought kings, but their discretion preserved dynasties. Everyone saw the puppet. No one saw the strings. This is the art of invisible rule, shaping events without your name attached to them. To master it, you must abandon the hunger for recognition. The ego is the enemy of influence. Ask yourself, do you want credit or control? Because rarely can you have both. When you stand at the center of power, you also stand in the center of fire. Enemies target the visible. Blame seeks a face. The unseen hand, however, moves freely, immune to attack, immune to exposure. Modern history is filled with such invisible emperors. The advisor behind the president, the lobbyist behind the law, the strategist behind the corporation. They write the script, while others perform it on stage. To master this, you must understand human vanity. Most men crave the illusion of control. Let them have it. Feed their pride while you guide their choices. Allow them to believe every idea was their own. The perfect manipulator never argues. He whispers. He suggests. He aligns his will with the ego of another until his command becomes the other's desire. You see, when people believe they act freely, they never resist. They defend your influence as if it were their own conviction. This is how great power sustains itself, not through domination, but through absorption. Learn from the old empires. The Roman Senate believed it ruled, yet it was steered by subtle voices. Generals, financiers, mistresses, philosophers. Rome fell not from force, but from invisible persuasion turning its heart against itself. Psychology explains this elegantly. People crave autonomy. If you openly control them, they rebel. But if you guide their perception, they will chain themselves and call it choice. This is the silent puppet string. It moves through emotion, narrative, and need. You do not need to force people when they want what you want. How is this done? Through patience, through silence, through mastery of timing. Influence is not about pushing. It is about allowing. A master of manipulation creates the environment in which others choose what he already decided. He shapes context, not conflict. When you learn to control the context, you control every outcome that follows. The crowd never sees your hand. They see only coincidence, fate, or natural decision. To rule invisibly, you must cultivate ambiguity. Never reveal all that you know or all that you intend. Your silence becomes a mirror. Others project meaning onto it, and in that projection, they reveal their weakness. In conversation, let others speak first. Their words expose their desires. Their desires reveal their chains. Once you know what they want, you can lead them wherever you choose, so long as they believe they're walking there themselves. Remember, the loud man controls nothing. Noise is the refuge of the insecure. Silence, on the other hand, provokes imagination, and imagination obeys suggestion. The greatest rulers in history have often been mistaken for advisors, servants, or even shadows. They guided kings like chess pieces, all while smiling from the edges of the board. Do not seek to be the king. Seek to be the game itself. The king is trapped by visibility, adored or hated, but never free. The invisible hand can remove him at will and crown another before dawn. This is the paradox of real power. To command everything, you must appear to command nothing. So ask yourself, do you lead from the throne or from the shadows behind it? Do others serve you because they fear your authority or because they trust their own? The ruler who manipulates openly wins obedience, but the one who manipulates invisibly wins loyalty. And loyalty, once captured, is the strongest chain of all. Every lie, if told long enough, becomes truth. Every illusion, once believed by all, begins to believe itself. That is the tragedy of power. The illusion you create to rule others will one day begin to rule you. At first, the mask is a tool, something you wear to command respect, to project strength, to shape perception. But over time, the mask fuses with your skin. You forget where it ends and where you begin. You become the reflection others worship, and lose the man behind it. This is the mirror of power, a place where control turns inward and the manipulator becomes the manipulated. Think of kings who began as visionaries but ended as prisoners of their own image. Louis IV, the Sun King, built Versailles not as a home but as a stage. Every wall glittered with mirrors, every step choreographed to display his divinity. He ruled by theater, and in doing so became trapped in endless performance. He could no longer show weakness nor speak plainly. Even in solitude, he was acting for an invisible audience. You may think you are free of such illusions, but are you? Every social mask you wear, the confident leader, the calm thinker, the invincible professional, becomes a cage the longer you maintain it. You start shaping your choices not by truth, but by how they appear. You stop asking, "What is right?" and begin asking, "What will they think?" And in that moment, your reflection begins to dictate your behavior. The most dangerous illusion is not the one others believe. It's the one you start believing about yourself. Power intoxicates because it feeds on validation. Every compliment, every glance of admiration reinforces the illusion until it feels divine. But dependency on perception is weakness disguised as control. The applause that once elevated you now becomes your oxygen. Ask yourself, when was the last time you acted without considering how it would look? When did you last make a decision that risked your image? If you cannot answer, you have already stepped into the mirror. History is full of men devoured by their own image. Nero believed himself an artist while Rome burned. Napoleon convinced himself he was destiny incarnate long after the world had turned against him. They were not destroyed by enemies. They were destroyed by reflection. The mirror told them they were infallible, and they listened. Psychology calls this ego entrapment. When self-image overrides reality, it begins subtly. You start defending your illusion more fiercely than your integrity. You justify lies because they protect your persona. You silence dissent because truth feels like insult. Eventually, you no longer seek power. You seek the illusion of being powerful. And when perception becomes your master, you are no longer a ruler. You are a servant. To avoid this fate, you must perform an act few dare attempt: self-betrayal. You must betray your image before it betrays you. Tear down the illusion before it consumes the mind that built it. The true strategist steps away from his reflection regularly. He examines the image that others see and asks, is this still a weapon, or has it become a weakness? If it no longer serves, he destroys it. without sentiment, without hesitation. Even Machiavelli warned of this subtle decay. The ruler who forgets the difference between appearance and essence invites ruin. For the moment you start believing your mask, you cease to adapt. And the one who cannot adapt cannot rule. Adaptation requires humility, the cold recognition that every role you play must one day be shed. You may command the stage for a season, but the show must end. When the curtain falls, will you still exist without the costume? That is the question every master of perception must face. Power is sustained not by pretending to be immortal, but by knowing when to disappear. Sometimes, the only way to preserve control is to surrender the illusion that you ever had it. So, when you next look into the mirror, do not admire the reflection. Study it, question it, and when it begins to whisper that you are untouchable, that is the moment to strike it down, because the mirror flatters before it enslaves. It shines brightest just before it cracks. Power is not taken, it is granted, by those who never realize they've surrendered it. The greatest control is invisible. You do not chain the body, you guide the mind. You do not command, you suggest. And while they believe they act freely, you are already steering their fate. This is the essence of mastery. To rule without presence, to shape without trace, to dominate without a single declaration of power. Most will never understand this. They will call it manipulation. They will call it evil. But you know it is precision. It is survival. It is the highest form of strategy to win without ever being named the victor. So now I ask you, are you ready to wield that level of control, or will you remain among those who are ruled by it? If you see the truth in these words, leave your mark below. Comment your thoughts, subscribe for more Machiavellian strategies, and share this with those still blind to the game.